Number 8. Devin Janvier. 16-year-old Devin Janvier was swimming with his family and several friends at the Walter Dam in Michigan, USA, when he decided to jump off a nearby cliff. There was no swimming or diving allowed in the area, but this didn't discourage the teenager. He climbed to 30 feet and leapt into the water. Though he managed to resurface at first, Janvier struggled to swim ashore. Several people tried to reach him and help him stay afloat, but they were unable to get Janvier in time. Several dive and scuba teams joined the search, eventually discovering Janvier's corpse 50 feet underwater. Cliff jumping is an extreme sport. While competitive divers can jump from up to 85 feet, professional show divers easily leap from cliffs over 148 feet. Well, it involves the use of a parachute. The practice is known as base jumping. Cliff diving can be performed with no special clothing or equipment, though higher jumps pose greater risk of injury or death. The record holder is Lasso Schaller with a 193 feet jump. Imagine leaping off an 18-story building and falling straight into a body of water. That's what Schaller did in Cascata del Salto, dropping at a speed of 76 miles per hour. Number 7. Unnamed man. The body of a 32-year-old man was recovered after it resurfaced at Cow Lake in British Columbia, Canada. The corpse displayed signs of trauma consistent with a fall from height. A few days prior, an eyewitness had called emergency services when he saw a man jumping from a cliff at the provincial park, but didn't notice him swimming back to the surface. The area was searched and an underwater camera was used to locate the unidentified man, but it wasn't until 2 days later that his corpse was discovered. Cliff jumping is incredibly popular in the region, and the police urge the public to be careful when practicing this extreme sport and not to take unnecessary risks. Number 6. Kerrigan Davis. 20-year-old Kerrigan Davis was spending the day with 3 friends at Niket Bay State Park in Colchester, a town in England. They decided to attempt to jump from the tallest cliff around Lake Champion, which towered 70 feet above the water. When Davis leapt into the water, she thought everything was all right at first, but moments later, a numbing sensation began to spread, and she then began experiencing intense pain. She didn't hit any rocks or fish, but rather failed to fall into the water in the correct position. The impact alone had caused her brutal injuries. She was rushed to the UVM Medical Center where several tests were run. The doctors discovered she had broken one of her vertebrae, and the shattered bone was sinking into the spinal nerve. Davis had to endure surgery and months of intense treatment after that. Cliff jumping is practiced all around the globe. There are particularly popular locations such as Hawaii, which is considered the birthplace of this sport, La Quebrada in Acapulco, Mexico, Havasu Falls in the Grand Canyon, the 7 Mile Beach in Negril, Jamaica, and the Serpent's Lair in Ireland's Aran Island are among the most popular jumping sites. The World High Diving Federation was founded in Avignon, Switzerland. One of the first daredevil cliff jumps can be traced back to 1770, when the last king of Maui, Kehekele, leapt from the 63 feet high Kanolu Cliff, earning the moniker Birdman. His soldiers were commanded to follow behind in order to show their bravery. In modern times, there have been several reenactments of this event. Number 5. Daniel Salisbury. Daniel Salisbury was turning 33 and wanted to do something special to celebrate his birthday. As such, he took a trip with several friends to Kalamalka Lake in Canada. They were planning to cliff jump at Rattlesnake Point. When Salisbury jumped, he failed to assume the correct position and ended up landing on his stomach. His friends waited for him to resurface, but he never did. They immediately called for help, but nothing could be done to rescue Salisbury. His body was discovered the following day by divers. His corpse was taken to the morgue, where it was determined that Salisbury drowned after the hard impact he'd suffered. This wasn't the first such incident in the area during Father's Day weekend. A few days before, Kashif Sheikh jumped into the water attempting to save his daughter. The young girl survived, while her father drowned before help could arrive. Number 4. East Wareham Man. An unnamed Massachusetts man suffered life-threatening injuries after cliff jumping in Freetown State Forest. Though his name was not disclosed, it was noted that the 19-year-old had been practicing the extreme sport with some friends, and that the rest of the group noticed he didn't resurface. Emergency services were subsequently called to the site. The spot, featuring an 80-foot drop, was a commonplace for cliff jumping, and injuries were reported rather frequently. The firefighters answering the distress call managed to pull the 19-year-old from the water and performed CPR. Since his state was critical, urgent care was required, and a med flight was called in. He had to be carried 1 mile into the woods to reach the chopper that would take him to the hospital. Though the man required urgent surgery, his development state hasn't been released to the media as of the upload of this video. There was a great risk in any cliff jump, to the point that official tourism sites don't encourage this sport. Leaping from great heights puts great stress on the human body. Merely jumping from 20 feet involves hitting the water at up to 25 miles per hour. This is a hard enough hit to break bones, get concussions, or badly compress the spine. If you don't enter the water correctly, it's like hitting hard concrete. Jumping from taller cliffs can lead to dislocated joints, multiple broken bones, permanent paralysis, and even death. Even when falling at the right angle and position, there's still a chance you'll be seriously injured. It's very important to make sure there aren't any bodies of rocks or branches on the landing site. Jumping into shallow waters may lead to hitting the bottom at high speed and awkward angles, which is often fatal. Divers have been known to become disoriented underwater, and in their panic end up drowning by swimming the wrong way. Number 3. Garrett Berg was 17 years old when he decided to go cliff jumping at Lake Bowlsby in Cannon Falls, Minnesota. That part of the lake is only accessible through private property, and the sheriff's office routinely gets calls to remove trespassers. 30 other people have been escorted out of the zone, but the group of teenagers accompanying Berg managed to make the jump. Though he'd seemed to have landed in the water without any problems, one of his friends jumped right after him and landed on Berg, pushing him further down. The unnamed teenager managed to swim to the surface, but Berg was nowhere to be seen. A 911 call was immediately placed and the authorities arrived at the lake at 5:25. 3 hours later, a dive team recovered Berg's corpse. Today's topic was requested by Dennis Cudi and Cole Trick. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Christopher Michael Sturley. The police at Randolph County in North Carolina received an urgent call in June of 2020, informing them of an accident at the Harris Reservoir. Christopher Michael Sturley had taken a leap from a spot that's known as the Jumping Rock. Family members panicked when the young man failed to resurface. Several rescue teams worked together to rescue Sturley, but there were no signs of him. After a few hours, the search turned from a rescue to a recovery mission. Local citizens and businesses donated water and food for the agencies and volunteers working on the case. It took 2 days for divers to finally discover Sturley's corpse, who drowned after apparently suffering a concussion upon impact. It's vital to practice thoroughly before attempting to jump off steep cliffs. Swimming pool platforms are a good way to start. The most adequate form of breaking the water's surface is in a pencil shape, as slim as possible, with the feet pressed together and pointing downward. This helps reduce the force of impact. Never go jumping alone. Sticking to the buddy system means that if something goes wrong, someone can immediately call for help. Before making the jump, always explore the area to make sure the water is deep enough and that there aren't any big stones where you'll land. Though it's not mandatory, using a wetsuit may help in avoiding harm by adding a layer of protection. Unless you have ample experience, don't attempt any acrobatics on the way down. This might cause you to land in the wrong position and thus sustain painful, potentially lethal damage. Number 1. Durdle Door. Several daredevils were severely injured after taking a jump off a 200-foot cliff located at Durdle Door in Dorset, England. That's a greater drop than if you were to jump off the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. All the victims' names weren't released to the public. The first victim was given CPR on the beach by an off-duty medic and had to be airlifted to the hospital. His condition was critical. A 25-year-old man suffered extensive spinal damage and also required a helicopter lift to the ER. The third jumper's injuries were less severe, as he'd only badly damaged his leg. Since his condition wasn't life-threatening, he was driven to the local hospital by a land ambulance. All of these accidents happened on the same day, while hundreds of bystanders cheered and encouraged jumpers to take the leap. Thanks for watching. Would you rather cliff jump from 50 feet or firewalk the length of a football field while being chased by hornets? Let us know in the comments section below.